Hey, what's up, guys? I haven't made a video in a while aside from just some political BS regarding the elections, and now that it's over, I thought I would talk a little bit about what's going on. Um, I have been doing a lot of reading and a lot of just cycling to work and all that good stuff, much like I was doing before, but some things have been kind of changing in my mind, and I've come to some rationalizations and realizations, whatever you'd like to call it, regarding my opinions on certain things. So my mind has changed in a lot of ways, and here goes kind of what my realization was. For a while, I was kind of like anti-gay marriage and pro-gun rights and anti-socialized health care and uh, whatever you want to call it. I had all kinds of lines in the sand that I drew where I was about. And I realized something that first and foremost, the reason why I was having those opinions is because that's how the system is right now. You look at something and you see, given the system, and you do it subconsciously, at least I do it subconsciously. I see how the system is now, and I say to myself, okay, well, what would this do in affecting the system the way it is now? And if this were to happen, what would it do, and how would it affect us? And I realized that if we actually were free in how we live our lives to choose and what limits are set upon the government, mainly the federal government, then most of these issues would be personal issues. It wouldn't matter what the larger collective thought of your opinions on such things. Gun rights would largely be restored, and you'd be responsible for protecting yourself. If someone wanted to be a life partner with another person of the same sex, it really wouldn't be anybody's business. Further, if there was no tax incentive or other incentives aside from whatever laissez-faire private market stuff is worked out, then it wouldn't matter because there wouldn't be any tie to it. You wouldn't want it because it didn't mean anything. So what am I saying here specifically? Well, if the federal government is supposed to be small, much smaller than it is now, if we base it off of what the Constitution says, and even if you took away some of the currently written in rules of the Constitution, say the Commerce Law, for example, then it really wouldn't matter. If we reduce the federal government to where it should be and what the framers wanted it to be, mainly, the Jeffersonian way of federal government would be small, tiny, and that the states and the individual people would be left to do the rest. And that gives them an ability to govern themselves, their lives, and most of these social issues would become a non-issue. So abortion, laws regarding marijuana, gay rights, property rights, gun rights, all these things would become matters of the society at large, not something to be enforced or controlled by the federal government. But since we don't have that, since we have the absence of that, what we are left with is many different groups, but really a dividing line down the middle between the leftist Democrats and the right conservatives. And the right, the Republicans that we have a lot of their social beliefs wrapped up with their religious beliefs, which just clouds the water further. But the big realization that I came to is the reason why all these social issues are bouncing around inside of our head, and we want the federal government to decide who's right and wants to take away something from somebody because it's better and we feel it's good, because we don't trust each other. We don't actually trust each other to do whatever it is that we want to do that makes us happy. We don't trust individuals to have whatever guns they feel they need. We don't trust that they won't go buck wild and shoot someone. Or further, we don't trust that we would be able to police ourselves. And when I say we, I mean a collective we. I don't feel that way. I don't have any problem with somebody having a gun, openly displayed or concealed. Anywhere we go, I really don't care. I really don't. And if someone were to go crazy and pop off and start shooting people, I'd much rather have more people in the vicinity of that individual with guns to respond than not. This is all things I've said before, but okay, let's talk about weed. I don't smoke weed. I don't care about weed. It has no interest to me. But does that mean that I want to preclude somebody from potentially doing it because they're interested in it, or maybe it helps them with cancer? I know that medical usage of it is important, blah, 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 whatever. I don't really want to restrict anybody from it. And personally, I don't care whether an individual grows it or does whatever. Now, in the current situation of everybody's got to give and we've got to take taxes at gunpoint from individuals, do I want the taxpayers getting high and not being able to pay their taxes? No, I don't think the system works that way. But is that the way the system was intended to be? No. So the system in place is what's causing my opinions on marijuana, or causing my opinions on gay marriage, or causing my opinions on any number of political issues. If the federal government wasn't as large as it is, if we weren't so indebted, if we weren't in such these situations that we find ourselves in, then most of these social issues would disappear from our common discussion because it wouldn't matter. The long arm of the federal government would not preclude any individual from partaking or being involved in any particular activity, as long as it's not illegal, that goes against social norms of legality, then it wouldn't matter. And so that comes down to taxation for return of services or social services, if that was reduced. Or further, the next step, so while you reduce the taxes and lower the ability of the federal government, you have to boost individuals' rights regarding guns and the ability to protect themselves. And you also have to reduce the restrictions, the mala prohibita laws that are in place these days, or that have been in place for a very long time, that put people in prison for like a preemptive strike. So if somebody in California they come into this state from another state and they bring a larger capacity magazine, they're guilty of importing a high capacity magazine. You would say gun owners should know better, but it's, if your mind isn't focused on learning the thousands and thousands of laws in place, then how can you really be prepared to defend yourself or be a conscious individual, responsible individual? Some people would argue that, well, if they're going to partake in that kind of activity, then they need to know all the laws. But those laws are in place to prohibit, not to punish crime. They're there to prohibit and control, not to prevent instead to prevent a crime. Right? If somebody gets caught with some large amount of weed, for example, that becomes all of a sudden an intent to sell. Okay, it could be an intent to smoke a lot of weed. I mean, I don't care what that person does with it. When you catch him selling to someone, then they're committing a crime. Until then, what is it? It's nothing. So yeah, obviously some big differences in opinion and changes in my mind. And it's been bouncing around for a while, and somewhere on these bike rides, these long rides that I go on, I find myself thinking more and more about this stuff, and then I gravitate towards certain literature that exemplifies that. But anyway, that's my opinion on the matter, and what do you guys think? What do you think is causing, is it the distrust the common man has, that we really can't let go because we can't imagine a situation where people would be responsible for their own lives and being able to protect it, and that we look to someone up on a hill of a federal government to control? I think some people are that way. I don't think some people would even know what to do with freedom if they had it. So that's my opinion, and I'm interested in hearing your thoughts. All right, take it easy.